All right, good morning. Welcome to today's MTM Dreammaker and Powerhouse Leaders. Laura Cisco here, guys, and I'm excited for today's training. We've got Miss Linda Strong, the one and only Linda Strong, with us today, and I'm excited because she's one of my favorites with NASB. And I just want to start out by saying, facts tell, stories sell. We all know this. We hear it, day in and day out when it comes to the way that we sell. And, people need to hear people's stories. And Linda's got one of the best stories. She comes from a background selling cars. That's where she was picked up from to go ahead and work with NASB. I think she sold Jordan a car. But then she also has a background in the Army as a psychological operations, which I know has helped her sell. And it also has helped her with her business building and growing her organization. Okay. And, just like anything in life, you've got your peaks and your valleys, anything in life and anything in business. And I want you to lean into Linda's story and hear about the things that she's done at a high level, things that she's done well, mistakes that she has made that you can learn from. Because remember, we learn from what? Mistakes and mentors in this business and in everything that we do. And so I want you to hear her mindset throughout her 7-year journey with NASB as an RVP. So Linda, do I have you?
Yep, you've got me loud and clear. And I'm glad that your group is just like my group and nobody wants to be off of that black screen that we have to look at.
Well, if you want to come off that black screen and show your face, guys, let's go ahead and do it. But no, I'm so excited to have you on. Basically, you coming on about a year after I did and being able to kind of watch you and you watched me and, just learning from each other and being one of the only ladies, but there's women, there's men on here. And I think that there's so much people can learn just from hearing from you. And I love hearing you speak because you have such a great way of communicating, which is one of the top pillars that you have to be, a leader that actually makes a difference. So tell us about you. Quick little background. I know I gave you a little bit of a synopsis of your story, but quick little background, why you chose NASB, and we'll kind of just dive into the meat for today.
Yeah, so I mean, you got it right. In April of 2024, it'll be 8 years, and I think you started maybe the year before, so you had a little bit of a head start on me. But why I chose NASB, I really feel like it kind of chose me. It got me at the right time. I sold Jordan 2 cars. The first time he came in, he was complaining over $20 of payment. And when I did his credit app and saw that he was making over $1 million, I'm like, dude, you've got more money in your couch cushions than I do in my bank account, and you're complaining over $20. But I asked him what he did, and he said he was in financial services. Realized that Cora was who I had the rapport with. We're both from Kentucky, so we kind of, bonded over that. And I kind of let it go. And then that was probably in August. And then in December, he reached out to me to buy his mom a car for Christmas. And, he came back in, we did the credit app, and his income had raised like $300,000. So I was like, dude, are you selling drugs? Because if you can show me the way to sell drugs legally, I mean, I'm game. Let's go. So, they told me how to get started, and the rest is really history. So I didn't look at any other companies. I'm one of those people that, everybody talks about getting blast calls and, hey, come work with me. I didn't get any of those. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't have any extra companies I could look at, but NASB's been my home, man.
So I wanted to jump in there really quickly. What do you think it was that really that you brought to the table that Jordan was like, you know what, I do want to, talk to her about NASB? I mean, because the same thing, we're buying cars all the time as builders. What do you think it was about you that he's like, yep, let's go, Linda?
I don't think it was anything because he didn't really like me. I wasn't discounting the car. I wasn't, giving, he wasn't winning the battle. I would say I won the battle on that. It was really Cora. So that goes to show you there's a lot, like you and John, there's a lot of ways to recruit people. And I'm sure John has led you to people that maybe he didn't get along with, but you did. So use what you got. So he used Cora, and it worked.
Love it. I love it. I love that you said that he did not win the battle. Jordan Smith, the natural, one of the best communicators, didn't win over the converter. I love to hear that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, that was 7 years ago. And, you said, let me see if I can sell drugs legally. So take us through like your first year. And, you were on fire. I mean, you were one of the fastest to hit our VP. So kind of start there with selling at a high level, just kind of your mindset from the beginning, and then we'll kind of unpack that.
Yeah. So, I mean, selling at a high level, I think, everybody on here, I don't need to teach you how to sell at a high level. You've already figured it out. And I will add that I don't necessarily think that you've got to sell at a high level, but I think you've got to sell at a consistent level. That's really going to help you. But what I learned starting recruiting is, I think a lot of your team comes from the service industry, correct? Like Roadhouse, Chick-fil-A, all of those different things. So what I learned really quick is, I'm going to use an analogy. Everybody knows Gordon Ramsay. If you don't, look him up. But he has two shows that he does. One is Hell's Kitchen, and the other is Kitchen Nightmares. And so in Hell's Kitchen, if you go to a dinner service at Hell's Kitchen, you're going to have two options of an entree. You're going to have two options of an appetizer, a dessert, and he's not going to deviate. So if I went in and I said, hey, Gordon, I want to try your beef Wellington, but I don't want the mushrooms in it. He's not going to bend to help me with my request. And they're really good at the things that they do. They're great. On the flip side of that, he also does a TV show called Kitchen Nightmares, and it's basically what it sounds like. It's restaurants that are struggling, and they're asking him to come in and help. And the thing I noticed watching is every time he would sit down, let's say he went to an Italian restaurant, every time he sits down, they would bring out a menu that was this thick. It had 18 pages of different choices of food that you could get. Now, it's an Italian restaurant, but they're also offering steak and seafood and tacos and, all of these other things. And guys, when you do that, you can't really get good at any one thing. So what I realized really quick was the NASB platform is designed for a certain type of person. It's going to be the person that wants to door knock, wants to run leads, wants to, do that more. It's not going to suit somebody who wants to do telesales as well. Now you can do it, you can make it work, but we don't have the perfect system for that. We've got the perfect system for door knocking. So what I realized really quickly is to not try to fit a square peg into a round hole. When I first started hiring, I would hire anybody that, as Keith says, could fog a mirror. And I would try to bend myself and our system to accommodate what they wanted. And as I grew, I learned that, hey, it's smarter business wise for me to tell somebody, hey, go look at this telesales company instead of looking at me. We're not going to be a good fit. So that's what I would say on that part is, it's okay to be slower when hiring and getting the right people. So don't think that you're going to be the answer for everybody. You just absolutely can't be that.
I think that's really big. And I think that you as a builder need to know that that is your niche, and you have to know your niche. You have to live and breathe your niche and know the nuances of it. So, anything that you do, you've always heard a jack of all trades or a master of none. I'm creative. I love to kind of dip my toes and think and be creative, but you have to make sure that you know your product line, you know your niche, and you are looking for those people that are going to align with that, but if you get too broad focused, you're going to have everybody that never writes a piece of business. That doesn't mean you don't take chances on people, but you have to be looking for those people that are kind of like how you were when you started, what you were looking for, what you were good at. but you're not looking for clones of you though. You're looking for people that kind of had those same kind of characteristics. So you're saying that what helped you grow quickly was not looking to the left or to the right, but being focused on what you brought to the table and how you could help someone make an impact with this niche. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, I was looking for the person that I could change their life, like I changed mine. Yeah, and you mentioned there too, fastest to RVP. To be honest with you, I cringe when I hear people say that. You know, Jordan says it all the time. And guys, I was the fastest, but you know, I was sloppy. I was sloppy in it, and so you know, it created a situation where you know, I lost momentum in different things. So I would really, you know, wish that I would take the fastest away to have been the steadiest and be in a different situation than I am here. And another thing that really I learned quickly is title and position does not give you immunity to bad things happening at all. You're never going to outrun that. A lot of times bad things happen more often the higher the level that you go. And you got to remember, you're carrying not only your weight, but you're carrying the weight of other folks that you now feel that are depending on you to be successful.
I think that is huge. You know, title and position do not bring immunity. Sometimes as you go, you might feel like it's carried. It seems like it's carried better or carried well, but that doesn't mean. A lot of the times the folks, like, you're going to get, the more you're in this business, the more you grow, the more people that you're working with, the harder you're going to get hit. And as a builder, you have to be able to take those hits, but be able to see the bigger impact that you're making when you're having these hits, or you feel like you're getting beat the hell up. Because let's be honest, how often do you feel beat up, Linda? I'm just saying, like, it's a boxing match sometimes there, but you have to be able to see, hey, why am I doing this for the long haul? What impact am I making for my family and for the family of folks that are really coming in that are serious? That's a key too, is the folks that are serious, that are going to rise up with you. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, you said, hey, you know, I might've been the fastest, but that makes me cringe because fast is not always the best. Let's talk about some of the things that you did really well and some of the mistakes that you did, you know, that maybe you learned the hard way, that you're like, hey, you know what, don't hit that landmine over there, don't do it. Maybe it was mindset, maybe it was ego, maybe it was, you know, whatever it is that was sloppy. What did you do well, and what did you know, say?
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys what I did well, and then you'll probably learn most from the things that I didn't do well. But how I look at it now is I'm going to run the race well from here on out. And it's not necessarily just the race to partner, it's the race of life. You know, anything I do, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities, even if it means I'm slower than somebody else. Because guys, there are people that there are partners in our company right now that on the outside looking in, it looks great. You know, they've got the title, they've got the position, they've got the money, but maybe they don't have happiness. Maybe they don't have something else that, you know, is important to me. So a couple of the things I did well, and Laura, I can go on forever, so you cut me off when you need to. Okay. But the number one thing I think I did was I learned to listen to the correct narrator in my head. And I know we're estrogen heavy on this call, but men have personalities in their head too. So I like to say I've got 3 to 4 different personalities in my head. I learned to listen to the correct narrator. The way to look at this is we've all got a song when it comes on the radio, no matter what kind of mood we're in, that song comes on the radio and our energy changes, right? Flip side of that, another song, a country song could come on, and next thing you know, you're crying, right? So make sure you have the mic in the correct narrator's hand in your head is the first thing. And then I've got a couple of other things here. This is not a one size fits all business. So one of the things that I think that I did well is I didn't treat it like that. So one of my best agents was my GM in the car business. He did, he was writing $300,000 worth of business year in and year out. And he was a machine. But he took $100,000 pay cut to come work with NASB. So he taught me very quickly that not everybody's interested in the money you can make. Me, I'm not money hungry. I am time hungry. I'm comfortable with the money that I make, but I want time to spend with my family, myself, my hobbies, whatever it is. So don't look at this as one size fits all. Really learn what somebody is looking for and then tailor our system and what we can offer to fit that need. Um, the other thing I did was I trained myself to find ways to compliment people. First of all, we never know what our words or our smile can do to somebody else's day. But I trained myself to, let's say I'm in the gas station, getting a Diet Mountain Dew, and I'm in line, and there's somebody at the counter, and they're being kind of rude to the cashier. When I get up to the cashier, I might say something like, "Hey, I overheard that, and I felt like you did a really good job of handling the situation. In fact, I think that how you handled that would lend itself really well into the career that I'm in. Are you interested in hearing more?" And the more times you say that, the more opportunities you have to land a good agent. So, always go ahead, Laura.
No, like I'm chomping at the bit because I just love you. You bring so much. So it's emotional intelligence, guys. We talked about this on our Friday call. It's EQ. It's being able to read a room, to read a situation. It's the thing that most people don't talk about, don't think about, that actually is the difference between someone that's going to do something sloppy or okay to someone that's going to do it well. And we talk about it too in our sales process. Step one, connect. Finding something that you can compliment someone. When was the last time, and I'm asking everybody on the call, when was the last time that you genuinely complimented someone? Like you took the moment to get outside of you and you complimented someone, whether it's your agent, your direct coach, someone like you said here that's out in the field, that you can be opportunistic and find that for them. I do want to ask you, what's your favorite song, Linda? You said, you have that correct narrator and you listen to that one song. What's your favorite song? Mine's, go ahead.
Now, I have a lot of songs. I probably couldn't even tell you. "Eye of the Tiger" is one that I just feel like I can just, I could beat somebody's tail if I'm listening to that. So, we don't, these cats on here are probably too young to remember like making CDs and making your playlist on a CD. But, we've got technology now. So go pick the songs that hype you up. Maybe you work out to or something like that. Go pick those songs, and if you're going to listen to radio, listen to that in the field.
Mine's Britney Spears. Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it.
Britney Spears. Yeah, that's so crucial. Those narrators, time or money, guys. It's not a one size fits all, like she says, and it changes for people. So you also have to, as a leader, have to be able to say, hey, this person that came on, they were really money hungry because they needed to be, right? And so you were that person that positioned this for them to make that 8K a month, that 10K a month. But then they're making that $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and now they need that time with their family, right? And it is positioning that and being able to read what's important to people so they can have longevity and they don't get burnout, right?
Let me add one more thing on there. This is something that I didn't personally struggle with, but over my time and vantage point, I see a lot of agents struggle with this. It's probably because I'm not money hungry, but probably a very pivotal point in my race is I've continued to live within my means. So I see this a whole lot. You come from making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and now you're making 10,000, and you feel broke still. And what happens is the more money you make, you're just broke at a higher level. You start spending money that maybe you shouldn't. And then you put yourself right back in that situation where you're freaking out over finances. So I would say until you're at, I would probably say until you have $50,000 in savings, you need to live well within your means. Because you look, guys, I was in the hospital 15 days last month. Nobody would have told me that I was going to wake up one morning and be in the hospital. So make sure that you're not being extravagant with your purchases and things like that until you're very your foundation is very solid.
Yeah. Sorry, my doorbell just rang and my dog's barking. So one of the things I was going to add was, Greg Baden used to tell me when I was my first year and I was doing pretty well. He said, don't act like you have any money until you have at least $30,000 in your bank account. You say 50, his was 30. And I lived by that. That was something that he said, that even if I made $7,000 that month, okay, great. But until I had $30,000, you know, I didn't have anything. And a lot of you builders, you have to realize that you need that nest egg. You have to have money in savings so you can actually develop your team, right? It's your business. And so how can you do incentives? How can you, take the dinners? How can you treat the people that are really, maybe they are money hungry. Maybe they do need a little bit of that extra love or those incentives. You have to be able to have the income to do it and the savings set aside to run your business. And so that's huge. Okay, we're probably going to go over about 3 to 5 minutes, but let's go on to the things that maybe like, hey, you know what? These are the mistakes that I made. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, and you guys will probably get so much more from these, but the number one mistake that I made was I forgot that seeds and weeds are going to grow at the same time. So if you look at it like you're planting a garden, you go out and you till your ground up, and you drop your seeds in and you water them and you do everything, and you come back out, in 3 or 4 days, and you look, and no seed has developed, but all of a sudden you see these weeds coming up. And if you don't stay on top of the weeds can be bad agents, they can be bad thoughts, they can be negative thoughts, they can be so many different things. But for me, it was bad agents. It was agents that rolled me dead. It was things like that. And here's what happened to me, Laura, is even though I loved gardening, even though I loved recruiting, because the weeds negatively affected me so much, I stopped gardening altogether. Like, I stopped recruiting altogether. I went 4 years and didn't recruit anybody because I allowed the weeds to take hold. They overtook the plants that were there already, and you can't do that. And the longer you're in this, the more you realize that seeds and weeds are going to grow at the same time. It's your job to kind of tend that garden, but don't let the weeds develop into resentment, which happened to me. And it really made me uncoachable. AJ would reach out to me, hey, how you doing? And I'm fine. I'm okay. Yeah. And in the back of my head, I was still pissed at him because I didn't think he was helping me. And at the same time, I was blocking that help. So I'm going to tell a really quick story that I heard that kind of the light bulb went off in my head. But there was this astronomy group in college, and there was going to be a lunar eclipse, and the astronomy teacher, he had a big telescope, like a NASA level telescope. And they had all agreed to meet at this location. He was going to set the telescope up, and they were going to watch the lunar eclipse. So sets it up. The first student gets up. He looks in. He's focusing the telescope. He's looking, and teacher says, "What do you see?" And he says, "Oh man, it's magnificent. It's beautiful. It's there's light coming around." And he said, "Okay, let the next person go." And so the next student comes up, and same thing. She's kind of twisting and focusing and looking, and he says, "Okay, tell the class what you see." And he said, "Oh, it's the same thing that the last guy saw. It's amazing. Everything's great." He said, "Okay, let somebody else step in." So the next student steps in, and he's trying to focus, and he's looking, and he's backing up, and he looks at the professor, and he says, "I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but all I'm seeing is black." And so the professor gets up there, and he's doing the same thing. He's looking, and he can't see anything. So he backs up, he takes a step back, gets a better vantage point, and he looks, and guess what? The cap was still on the telescope. And so that resonated with me because that's what I was doing. I was so prideful and egotistical that I wasn't going to admit that I needed help, that I needed somebody. I allowed my pride to stunt my growth. So I would say to you guys, are you going to be the student who goes along and lies to themselves, to their coach, to their class, to their teammates? Or are you going to be the one that has enough humbleness within yourself to say, hey, I don't understand this. Can you show me better? So that was one of the things that really helped me realize that, hey, this is a solo sport, but it's not a solo sport. You have a cast of people that are here to help you. You've got to use that. So just remember, if your ego and your pride are getting in your way, try to switch that out to be a little bit more humble and just say, hey, I need help. That's what we're here for. And it's as much your job to reach out to your coach as it is your coach's job to reach out to you. So I hope that story made sense for somebody else, but that was one of the things that helped me.
I think that's really big. It's because it stems from one thought. Think about it this way. One thought was a catalyst, like a domino effect, to all of these other thoughts that stunted your growth for 4 years, right?
Yep.
Guys, think about that. For 4 years. I don't think we realize that our mindsets, when we talk about mindset and, we're like the hoorah about mindset. No, I don't think you really understand the gravity to that, because even take me, my mindset, I don't want to say that I had a negative mindset, but I had a complacent mindset. See? And so for me, even though I wasn't negative or I wasn't necessarily uncoachable, it was, and I had my uncoachable moments, guys. So because we're all human, but it was, I'm okay. But at the same time, I really wasn't. I was complacent. And so I had growth stunted for a period of time because of that too, And so I think we all go through that, but it's knowing that these small seeds, our own seeds, can stunt our growth. And I love what you said. Bad agents or negative thoughts or, bad attitudes, those weeds take hold. You still have to tend your garden. You still have to tend your garden. Okay. And it made you uncoachable and you were blocking help, right? That is huge too. It's like we can be there and say, hey, or you as a coach right now, you've got someone that, you're trying to pour in that help to them, and they're blocking that. Let me ask you that. Let me kind of go to that for just a second. How would you respond to someone? Hey, you know what? Maybe you are trying to give that help, or, but the telescope is on still, or the lens is on the telescope still. How should a manager respond to that?
Well, which side are they? Are they the one that's asking for help, or they're not asking for help and they're just kind of lying to you?
Both of them.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I mean, if you look at it, weeds will grow out of concrete. Like weeds need nothing else to help them grow, and they'll get all over the place. A flower, on the other hand, you've got to tend it. You've got to take care of it, water it, prune it, all of those different things. So if I have an agent now that's blocking my help, I'm just really blunt with them. Like, look, I can help you, but you got to allow me to help you. And until you fix these things within yourself, and that's one of the next tips that I had on mindset. So maybe I'll just cover that as well. The biggest change that I had was self-development. And it wasn't developing into a better salesperson. It wasn't developing into a better manager. It was developing into a better Linda. It was changing things that I needed to change within myself. And Laura, you can't tell me what I need to change. Well, I guess you can tell me, but whether I listen is going to be a different thing. Mm-hmm. Once you listen to yourself, that's when real change happens. So for all the women that were at the women's conference in Atlanta, my panel did the villains. And, until you can look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, there's nobody to blame but you. Now let's fix this. Nothing's going to happen. You can try to coach somebody until you're blue in the face. It's not going to happen. It's got to be a self-development, self-realization for real impact to happen.
Got it. Now, if you're the person, so with you, I think that's good. What's your next tip that you had? I know you had a couple tips as we kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there was one really basic one. When you're jumping from just selling to now building or recruiting, no pun intended, because we're on a Zoom, but are you zoomed in or are you zoomed out? So if you're zoomed in, that's okay if you're just selling, because you only have to worry about yourself. But when you start bringing folks on, you've got to zoom your lens out a little bit. You've got to be able to see more than just yourself. So keep that in the back of your mind. I know there's resentment that grows when, say, a leader is still, performing at a really high level and they have an agent below them that's struggling. That creates resentment. So make sure that you've got a big enough vision. It's like stepping up a ladder. The higher you go up that ladder, the better your vantage point gets, and the more you can see. Laura, you're not at the top of the ladder yet, but you're very close. So you can see things that maybe a brand new builder can't see. Another tip that I have is, guys, don't make decisions for people. Just like my top agent, he was willing to take $100,000 pay cut. Your job as a builder is to offer the opportunity. It isn't to make the decision for the person. Just because they have highlight reels on Facebook does not mean that that is real. That's a facade most of the time. All right. So make sure that you're just doing your part in offering the opportunity and let them decide if it's for them or not. Another thing, you are best suited. I don't know who I heard say
Ed,
this,
my
but
buddy.
go ahead, finish it for me then.
You're best suited to help the folks that you once were.
Yes. So if you came from the service industry, you came from the car industry or military or what, know that you have more ammo to be able to help that person lift them up to the level that you're at than anybody else. So take pride in that. I'm not saying brag about it, but be confident about it. You have success stories that you can share. And then the last tip, because I know we're 3 minutes over. I hear this one so much. Laura, I know you struggle with this because I struggle with this. So it means it's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Is stop thinking you should be further ahead than you are. Just be happy where you're at. Make small adjustments. Mini victories, MINI victories. Create mini victories, MANY. Okay. So get comfortable, get accustomed to enjoying the journey, and don't be so hard on yourself. You should not be further than you are. And if you tell yourself that, you're going to stay planted where you're at. You're not giving yourself the ability to move on.
As we say on our team, give yourself grace. Like, seriously,
Yes.
we're the last person to give ourselves grace. And it's our story, it's our journey for a reason. We have to learn our lessons through our seasons that we go through, So great stuff, Linda. No wonder. Again, run the race well. Run your race well. And that does not mean that just this, that's the race of life. Because if you do that and you take that pressure off of yourself and just run your race and run it well, watch the growth that happens. And then when you do have setbacks or you do have the weeds that come in, you're going to be able to counteract those so much more effectively because of the way that you're looking at it. So I love this. It is 9:35. Guys, I hope that you got some good nuggets from the converter. I know that I did. And just continue to run your race well and continue to run your race. Don't stop. And so great stuff. And have a fantastic day, Linda. And thanks for jumping on today.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye.